This is the Jay Show. This is Dr. Jay Smith here in London, England. And with me is our special friend, Hatun Tash, back again for episode number 9.
Thanks for having me again, Jay.
It's been great. And we stopped episode 8 right in the middle of unpacking some really exciting material because you're going into and showing all the variants that have come down after Uthman in the 8th and 9th up until the 10th century.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that slide.
Yeah.
Let's open up that slide. When we look at that slide, if you look on the right-hand side, there are 5 cities, and we'll just name the cities. We have Mecca, Medina, Damascus, Kufa, and Basra. Kufa and Basra are from Iraq. Damascus is from Syria, and Medina and Mecca are what is today Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And we got through Mecca, Medina, Damascus, and Kufa, and we noticed already 20 different Qurans, 20 different variations, 20 different readings. But these aren't just readings, these are writing differences.
Yeah. So we looked at approximately 20 different Arabic Qurans which exist around 9th century. We looked at the number of the variations and then we stopped when we came to Kufa.
And these are thousands of variations.
Yes.
I mean, we looked at one of them here that had 5,000. Why don't we let our reader read the name?
So Al-Kasai had 2 students, Al-Duri and Abu Ali Al-Harith.
Al-Harith. And look at that, 5,000 differences between that and the Hafs today.
Yes.
Now,
So sadly we don't have the Hafs Quran which exist in that time. So we are comparing all those Qurans with the 1924 Hafs Quran.
the Hafs that you see on the screen there, the Hafs that's after Abu Bakr as-Asim, that Hafs 708 to 796. We don't have that one, you're saying?
We don't know what that look like, but the current Hafs we are using is the officialized in Egypt in 1924.
1924, 93
Yeah.
years ago, they made it, canonized it in Al-Azhar University there in Cairo.
Yeah, so all the Qurans we are looking at, they are the 21st century version of the Quran. We
21st
don't have any
century.
manuscripts which can back those Qurans anyway.
Okay, so now we're going to come down. We've done Kufa, we've done Damascus, we've done Medina, we've done Mecca. Now we're coming down to Basra, the southern part of Iraq. Let's just take a look at those Qurans, starting with the one Damascus. And
Yeah.
let's have our reader go ahead and read the names of those.
Amir ibn Abdul Qais.
So that's the person who went to Basra when Uthman sent the perfect Quran.
Okay?
From him, we've got in 687 to 770.
Abu Amr ibn Al-Ala.
And he had 2 students. One of them is Al-Duri. This is the same Al-Duri who was in Kufa. Al-Duri was blind, so he had 2 different teachers.
Okay, if you look up, you can see Al-Duri up there, 860 in Kufa, who's a student of Al-Kasai. And now he's also a student of Ibn al-Ala.
Yes.
So you have, that's the same Al-Duri you're saying?
Yeah, it's the same Al-Duri. He was blind, so he had 2 different teachers, and we've got those Qurans from him.
So he disagreed with himself, you're saying, or he disagreed with his teachers?
In one of the occasions, he disagreed with himself. In other occasion, he disagreed with his teacher and his other students.
Well, take a look. I mean, look at the thousands of differences there.
So we've got 2 Qurans from Al-Duri, and one of them contains 4,645 variations when we compare to Hafs Quran. And then other one contains only 2,743 variations.
With the Hafs Quran that we have today.
With the Hafs Quran. And we've got another student of Amir ibn Allah, Al-Susi. So Al-Susi has 3,869 variations when we look at when we compare that with the Hafs Quran. Yet, when we compare the 2 students of Abu Amir ibn Allah's 2 students,
Al-Duri
and Al-Susi, we see those 2 students are disagreeing in 2,486 different words.
I can understand
They're just
that.
disagreeing with one another.
And Al-Duri disagrees with himself, too.
Yes.
Thousands of times. If you look at the differences in numbers there.
Yes.
They just cannot make up their minds, it looks like. But nonetheless, let's just unpack this real quickly. What we're looking at here, just on the right side of the graph, 5 cities. We're looking at 24 different Qurans right there. 24 different variations. So Qurans that differ from what we have, the Hafs that we have today. 20 coming down through Kufa that we talked about in the last episode, and another 4 that have been added from Basra. That's 24 that I come up with.
So they're all Arabic Qurans. They just come, all of them, if you chase back, all of them comes from Medina when Uthman sends the Quran. Yet there are thousands of variations from those Qurans.
Oh, yes, but that's not all. Now let's look at the left side of the graph, because there's variations again.
So the one we saw on the right-hand side, they are acknowledged by Muslims. You will meet with imams or hafiz who memorize those different readings.
Yeah.
So on the left-hand side, they are the weak reading. So Muslims are aware of it, but it's not as strong reading as the one we saw on the right-hand side.
So the 24 different readings that we see on the right are very strong.
Yes.
The ones we're going to see on the left now are the weaker ones.
Yeah, so the ones on the left-hand side,
They're not as authoritative as
Yes.
the ones on the right.
Yes.
Okay. And so these are lesser in importance than the ones on the right. Nonetheless, we still need to bring them out just to show
Because
that they
they
exist.
still exist.
They
They
still
still
exist.
exist.
And they're still being printed.
Yes.
These are ones that you have found today.
Yep.
The fact that they're still printing, though they were written in the 8th century, they're still being reprinted in the 21st century, shows that from the Muslim standpoint, in the Arab-speaking world, they are still considered important.
Yes, people still memorize those things.
Okay.
So let's look at the map. We've got Abu Ja'far's Quran, which is from Medina. Okay. He's got 2 students, Ibn Wardan and Ibn Jamaz. So Ibn Wardan's Quran has 3085 variations with the Hafs Quran.
My goodness.
And we've got variations from Ibn Wardan and Ibn Jamaz. It's only 28.
So they really do agree quite a bit, those two.
Yeah. It's 20. It is like pretty small number when you compare with 5,000.
Compared to what we're looking at on the other side, you're right.
And then we've got Quran in Basra. It is Yaqub al-Hadmari. He's got 2 students, Ruwais Quran and Ruh Quran. They are all dated like 9th century. When we look at the Ruh Quran, we see 1,724 variations with the Hafs Quran.
Now, these 2 students,
Are
over
disagreeing.
400 disagreements. Not like the other 2 from in Medina. They only had 28 disagreements. These guys did not agree much with each other.
Yeah, but when you compare Ruwais and Ruh Quran with the other Qurans in Basra on your left-hand side, you see actually it looks like they are doing pretty good, because it's only 1,700 variations versus previously it was 4,000 and 2,700 variations. So that number was very, very big.
Yeah.
Yet not as well authorized Quran in Ruh and Ruwais, they've got only 1,724 differences.
Okay. Now we come to Baghdad. So we've gone to Medina, we've done Basra. Now let's go to Baghdad. What did you find in Baghdad?
In Baghdad, we've got a teacher called
خلف البزار
and he's got 2 students.
إسحاق إدريس الحداد.
So we're supposed to have 2 Qurans from those 2 students.
And you haven't had a chance to look at them yet? By the way, just so everybody knows what's happening, all of this work has been done by Hatun. She is the one that's gone through
I would
and
say it's
pulled
a
out.
big teamwork, because sadly Muslims didn't make those Qurans accessible to us. We had to bring a team together who knows Arabic, who speaks Arabic, who came from Arabic countries to compare all those Qurans.
And our Arabic speaker here is the one that's been working with you, who has been helping us all the way through it. So this work, I hope you realize how much work has gone into doing this. Why have Muslims not done this work? This is their Quran. This is their holy scriptures. This is the reason why we are now doing it. We have to do it because no one else has done it yet. I just want to thank you so much for what you've done. But let's now look at, from the Baghdad, you have 2 students. These are yet for you to look at. You have an awful lot of work yet ahead of you. But nonetheless, they are going to show differences also. You have no doubt that they'll show differences from the Hafs that we have today.
And other thing is, we don't have access to some of the Qurans which exist out there. We haven't able to compare them yet.
So in a year or 2 years from now, we'll be even adding to this list. It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Let me just summarize. So what we have is, we have a claim that Quran we are reading today, dot by dot, it is exactly the same what it was revealed to Muhammad.
So the diacritic, and we went through this in
Yeah.
one of our previous episodes, the dots above the line,
Yeah.
the na, the ba, below the line, the ta above the line, the ya below the line, the two dots, or the two dots above, two
Yeah.
dots below. These dots are exactly the same, that these have always been in existence, and that they, because you need those dots, you need those diacritical marks to be able to know what letter you're talking about.
Yeah. The claim is not even a dot change, yet in 2017, we can just go to the Muslim countries. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money to travel all those countries and then search for those Qurans. When we bring all those Qurans together, we can easily, like so far, we looked at only 24 variations in 24 Qurans. We haven't looked at the other Qurans yet because it takes a lot of time. And we've got 43,985 variations. That's the...
Repeat that again. This is so everybody can hear. Are you all listening to this? 43,000.
43,985
So
variations.
basically 44,000 variants we're talking about
No,
from
we are
just the ones you're looking
We are
at.
talking about 43,985.
I know,
So
just
sometimes-
15 less than 44,000.
Yes,
But
so-
there's some that you haven't even looked at yet.
Yes.
So you know it's going to go over 44,000.
It's going to go over 44,000.
Muslims tell me, and I've heard this for 33 to 34 years, there's not one variant between any Quran. All the Qurans are the same. It doesn't matter where you are in the world.
I think if you look at from another perspective, Jay, according to Muslims, according to Islamic tradition, it is very important how you recite your Quran.
Yeah.
I'm saying this because when you look at read the tradition tells us Quran, which is the eternal speech of Allah on the day of resurrection, is going to intercede for you. So Quran is going to separate itself from Allah and going to intercede for the people who recite it.
How can a Quran do that? A Quran's a book. It's a
Yes.
piece of writing. How can it talk?
it
How
is
can it
liter-
have volition?
it is-
How can it have in order to intercede, it has to have volition. It has to have
The conscience has to have a will. But the problem is, that's like another problem, but my main issue is, according to Islamic tradition, especially Surah 2, Surah 3, Surah 2 is the Surah Baqarah, Surah 3 is the Surah Imran, Surah 67 and Surah 32,
Yeah.
those 4 surahs are going to separate itself from the rest of the Quran and going to intercede for its reciters.
Okay, that's a whole nother subject.
So-
That's sounding kind of weird to me. But we're going to come back to that because that's important.
Yes, so now we've got 26 Arabic Qurans within our possession and there are more Qurans. I think it's important to be more conscious that those Qurans are very important for our Muslim friends. Whichever Quran they are reciting, that Quran has to be right.
And it has to be no different than all the other Qurans. So you're saying
Because the right Quran is the right recitation is the one who is going to intercede for them.
And which one of these? No, we're talking
We don't know which one it is, but overall, when we look at the big picture, yes, we've got 43,985 variations. Overall, when we look at the big pictures, we see if any Quran is disagreeing with Hafs, let's say Warsh Quran is disagreeing with Hafs, most of other Qurans are supporting the Warsh version of the Quran.
Okay, I count 24 different Qurans on this side. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Another 3 below that, that's 10, 11, 12, plus another one above that, 13. So 13 plus 24, that's 37 Qurans you're talking about. You only have 26 in your own possession.
Yeah.
We're talking about another 37 that we know about.
Yeah, can I just emphasize one thing? So the Quran we are reading today comes from the Hafs, which went to Kufa. Okay, the Quran, which is read in North Africa, for example, today is the Warsh Quran,
Right.
which is from Medina, okay, which comes from the Zayd bin Thabit. According to Islamic tradition, he's the one who was the scribe of Muhammad, and Warsh is the one who spent 40 years to teach in the mosque of Prophet Muhammad.
Okay.
Yet, somehow in 1924, when they decided which Quran is going to be official Quran, which Quran is going to be canonized, they failed to pick up the Warsh Quran with their criteria. They picked the Hafs Quran. Yet, when we compare the variations, we see if there is a variation supports the Warsh Quran mainly.
Okay.
That's just a side information.
Look at that. That's right. Now, here's the big, and this is what Muslims will come back to us on, and we need to move on to this. And they will say, okay, all these is great. Hatun, you've done a great job. You found thousands upon thousands of variants. You showed us. We're convinced that these are there. The variants are there. So what, they say? So what? They don't change a thing. Every variant that you're going to find basically says exactly the same thing. These are nothing more than synonyms. These are nothing more than different pronunciation. This does not change any meaning of the text. This doesn't change any theology. It is exactly the same way to say something. Maybe there's 7 different ways that you can say the exact same thing. Have you heard this response?
I do hear that response, yes.
That's the most common response I hear all the time. How is it we're going to convince people that actually these do change the meaning?
So people who make this claim, it is clearly they never sat down and compare those Qurans. Those differences are not complementary to one another. Those differences are serious differences.
So why don't we do that?
So let me just point something out. Yes, there are some differences.
Okay.
It doesn't change anything meaning. It just has one tashkil extra, or it has some like.
So they are
dot is
correct in
different.
some cases.
Yeah. Yes. But we are talking about the differences which change the word, which change the full sentence, and in some occasions it changed the theology of that sentence.
First and foremost, how have the Muslims who have responded, have they gone and found these 43,985 differences? Have any of them looked at all of them?
If they did it, it will be. It's shame that they failed to share that information with many Muslims.
Well, Hokan Hatun, I don't think anybody's done what you've done to begin with. I don't think anybody's done this kind of work before. I have never seen it written up anywhere.
Maybe it is there, exists, but sadly we don't have access to them yet.
In the Arab world, it must have been done. The fact that these texts here, if you look here, the fact, where's the one we had before that had it actually written out? They had it and they were very clear. The fact that these exist, take a look here. Look at all those. The fact that that exists, all of these red words, shows that someone has done this. Someone has gone through and has actually done what you have done, and it has actually helped you to find them, is it not?
Yeah, but it's only a couple of Qurans like this, Jay. Lots of Qurans that didn't put the color code.
So this is an honest Quran.
Yes, like some of them has the color code, some of them don't have the color code. We have to work them out by ourselves.
But there are Muslims in the world that know that these red words are there.
There are the Muslims out there in the world. They know those reds are variations for the
and
Hafs.
that these are human interventions. These are humans who are changing the text. This is human intervention.
I don't believe Quran is the word of Allah anyway in the beginning.
But we're saying that now, aren't we?
Yeah, but it looks like clearly that mankind stepped into the eternal word of Allah and then changed it.
Okay, so if that is the case, let's hold them and let's go through and let's just look at some of them. Well, let's do that. Why don't you and I do that? Why don't we spend now, and let's start with Surah 1. What we want to do is start with Surah 1, go to Surah 2, Surah 3. What I would like to do, though, rather than go, there's 26 different Qurans. We don't have time to go to all 43,985. We'd be here for years doing that. And you have done that, but there's no way that people are going to sit and watch it. So what I want to do is, I want to start with the very first surah, and I want to start with the most common variant that Muslims always throw on us. And this is the one they say, this is all it is. And that's Surah 1, Ayah 4. And let's put that up on the screen. Surah 1, Ayah 4.
Surah 1 verse 4 is very well known variants by Muslims. And they tell us, actually, it doesn't change anything in the meaning. It is complementary and it is the same meaning.
I've heard Muslims all the time say, this is all you're talking about. And this is not a big change. Okay, now let's take a look at the slide here. And on the left in blue, you have the Hafs.
Okay.
And on the right in gold, you have the Warsh.
Yes.
Now what I want to do is, rather than go through all the ones, I just want to first start with Hafs and Warsh, Hafs and Warsh, Hafs. Let's try to stick with Hafs and Warsh to begin with, just to look at two of the most famous ones.
Yeah, that's fine.
And the Hafs that we're using today and the Warsh that comes from North Africa.
Yeah.
And I want to just look and start with Surah 1, Ayah 4. So unpacking the slide that we see here, let's have our Arabic reader read the word in Hafs and then the word in Warsh that are different.
Hafs, Malik. Warsh, Malik.
Okay. So it's an elongated A.
Yes.
Or Aleph. And what you look there, it's actually it's the dagger aleph that has been added, the dagger aleph that has been added above the mim.
Yeah.
There in the hafs on the left side, which does not exist in the warsh on the right side. The dagger aleph is not there. It's just a fatha, a normal
Yeah.
fatha. So one is an elongated A versus a short A. The elongated A, the transliteration would be maliki, and the short one for the warsh would just be
Malik.
Malik, real simple. Translation, if you want to translate it, on the left side, the hafs, Malik, it means the only owner of the day of recompense.
Yeah.
Okay, the only owner. On the right side, the warsh would be the king of the day of recompense. Now,
if
why
you
is that
think about,
significant?
if you think about it, it's actually very, very similar. So,
Yeah.
king can own the land, king can own the people, or you are owner of something. So that's like very, very similar. And according to Muslims, that doesn't make that much differences. Yes.
In fact, we have this same word in the Bible.
Yeah.
Let's look at the next screen. Let's
Yeah.
look at the next slide, because the next slide comes out of the Bible. Now, unpack that one for me.
So when we read the Genesis 14 in the Arabic Bible, we see.
So this is Arabic Bible.
Yes, we
Okay,
are
the
talking
same-
about the Arabic Bible.
So it's the same word in Arabic.
Yeah, same word in Arabic. So we see in Genesis 14 verse 19 and 22, we see the same phrase which is used for the warsh has been used in that sentence.
The short A, the Malik, which is king,
Yeah.
or creator in this case.
Yeah. And then also in Genesis chapter 15, same word is used. And it is used as the who will own. So Bible, which is the word of God, thinks actually there are two different things. There
So
are two
it
different,
makes a distinction between
that
it.
makes a distinction.
In the Arabic Bible, it is very clear that one is owner, which
Other
is
one is the-
Malik, and
yeah.
the other was king, which is Malik.
Yeah,
Small, short
creator,
A.
yeah.
So it does make a distinction because it does change the meaning in the Bible. So why doesn't it change it in the Quran?
According to Muslims, it doesn't.
Okay, because they don't want it to.
Yeah.
And that's why they use this one. That's the first one they come across. They say, this is all we're talking about, Mr. Smith. Don't
Yeah.
get upset about it. It's nothing more than saying the same thing about the same person. Well, the Bible makes it very difficult to do that. And
Yeah.
I would suggest that Muslims need to look at that again. So for our practice and for our work today, let's just keep Surah 1, Ayah 4 aside for now.
Yeah.
Let's now go to Surah 2, because there's quite a few changes there. There's
Yeah.
quite a few variants that are
Yeah.
substantial. And I would like to go to Surah 2, Ayah 10. So on the left side, we have the hafs. On the right side, we have the warsh. If we get our helper here again to read the hafs and then the warsh.
حفص يكذبون ورش يكذبون.
So yakzibun versus yukazibun. And if you look, we've underlined each one there in the text. These are pictures of the text that you have taken for each one of the Qurans that you
Yeah.
have here. So these are not our writings. This has nothing to do with us. These
Yeah.
are the actual texts.
Just-
We haven't
yeah.
manipulated them. We haven't written them. If anybody, please, if anybody has a problem with this, go yourself and get these texts. You get your warsh, you get your hafs, and make sure that we're correct on
Yeah.
this. Because if we are incorrect, we will be willing to admit it. But these are actual pictures of the text. So in every case, we're going to show the picture of the text so that people can see the difference.
Yes. So that you don't accuse us that we wrote it or we are cheating. So it comes from the Quran, Arabic Qurans, which we bought in 2016. So
Let me just say, when you look at that, and look at the letter, and you can see that above the yaw, there is a fatha in the haf side. When you look over on the water side above the yaw, it is not a fatha.
yeah, and then also
This is a dhamma. Can you see that? One is a fatha on the haf side, the other is a dhamma. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And then when you get to the next word, on the haf side, it is a sukun above the kaf, whereas over on the water side, it is a fatha. So one is yak and the other is yukah. So you can see it makes quite a difference. Just visually, you can see this is different. And I hope people are seeing that there is quite a difference between the letters. The fatha versus the dhamma, and then the sukun versus the fatha, and then the shadda on the that is on the water side above the z. Now, let's look at the translation, because this does change the meaning,
Yeah.
doesn't it? And let's read what the Hafs is versus the translation in the Warsh. Go ahead, why don't you do that?
I read the Hafs and then you read the Warsh.
All right?
In their hearts is a disease, and Allah increased their disease. A painful doom is theirs because they lie. So the word we are looking is lie.
Okay, they lie.
Yeah.
Then on the other side, in the Warsh, in their heart is a disease, and Allah increases their disease. A painful doom is there because they accuse others of lying.
Yeah.
Now that changes the text completely. That changes the meaning completely. Are they doomed because they lie, or are they doomed because they accuse others of lying? Well, hold on a minute.
So one of them is giving us reason, other one is without reason.
Yeah, I would rather, because I lie, rather than accusing others of lying. That changes completely the theology, because what is it you're being doomed for?
Yeah.
I would like to know what I'm being doomed for accusing somebody or actually lying. Well, it should be me that's doing the lying, and in both ways they are bad, but they're completely two different evils. They're two
Yeah.
different sins. They're two different actions. But I'm hoping people that are looking at this, can you see the difference in the letters? Are you seeing the difference in the diacritical marks and also, in the vowelization, which changes the meaning, and in this case, even changed the theology. All right, let's move on now to the next slide.
حفص نغفر ورش يغفر.
Wow. So one is nagfir. So you have a completely different letter. You have a completely different vowelization. One with a shadda, one without the shadda. So you can see here, this actually changes the tense, and it also changes the meaning. What does nagfiru and what does yugfaru mean?
Of course, when all those differences come across, it changed the meaning. In Hafs Quran, which we are reading today, is shall forgive. In the Warsh Quran, it is shall be forgiven.
So
Let's put in the sentence.
Go ahead and read the Hafs and I'll read the Warsh.
And when we said, enter this town and eat bountifully, something, 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 and say, forgive us, and we shall forgive you your sins.
On the other side, in Warsh it says, and when we said, enter this town and eat bountifully, something, 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 and say, forgive us, and it shall be forgiven you your sins. So either we do the forgiving of the sins, I assume that is God, or is it we ourselves?
In Hafs, it is very clear, it is speaking, Allah speaking. Allah is the one who is going to forgive the sins.
But in the Warsh, it's not Allah, it's just forgiven arbitrarily.
We don't know who is forgiving. But if you look at the lots of problems in the divinity of Allah in Islam, it brings lots of question. Actually, yes, who is the one who is forgiving?
This is theologically unclear, and it does change it. We're going to stop this episode now because we want to go and we want to unpack in the next hour. So this is the 9th episode. We've already now started to look at the differerences, and we've just looked at 3 of them here. This is our 3rd one we're looking at. We're starting to get into Surah 2. We're going to continue with this Hatun, and we're going to actually show that these get even worse as we go on. There are going to be huge differences. But I hope people who are watching are starting to realize that only man would make mistakes like this. God would not confuse us like this. These are human interventions. These are human interactions. These are changes. These are variants that only humans would do. Muslims need to wake up and realize you can't just slough this off as saying they're the same. No, they aren't. You can see visually. We're giving these visual so you can look at them yourself, go home, unpack them, read them for yourself, get an Arab speaker like we have here, and see if these don't change the meanings. Yes, they do. So which of these Qurans is the one that was revealed to Muhammad? Which was the one that supposedly he then revealed to his companion? Which was the one that was taken 20 years later and was actually written down by Uthman? We're confused already. We've only started with 3 different ayahs, and we already see that there are theological differences. Great to have you. Come back again and go with us as we unpack the Quran even more. This is Jayden here in London. Over and out.